I'm Sarah Marshall. I've worked with some of the world's leading brands to drive business growth, and now I'm sharing my knowledge and expertise with you. In my podcast, Lessons from the Boardroom, I talk to other successful leaders to find out how they've perfected their craft, driven success, and dealt with the challenges that leadership sends us. So come on, dive in. Hello, welcome to this week's edition of Lessons from the Boardroom. I am super excited about our guest today. We have the wonderful Jo Webb with us. Welcome, Jo.
Thank you very much.
Jo is the founder and chief exec of the Girls Club, which I'm a member of. It's a membership. In fact, Jo, why don't you tell us what the Girls Club is? Tell us a bit about your journey to where you are today.
Okay.
The Girls Club.
Yeah. Okay, cool. So journey, oh my goodness me. So I've been around 100 years. I got my first gig, I guess, when I left university and started at Microsoft, which was really exciting. I then got poached by Disney, so I spent 10 years with the mouse in various different roles. And it's amazing, actually. You don't realize with these large corporates sometimes how much you learn until you leave, and then you're like, but I thought that was normal, and you realize that you've learned so much. So having the background, I guess, in Microsoft and Disney has definitely helped in terms of really building those solid foundations for leadership going forward. Following that, I had a number of roles. I was international vice president of DreamWorks, so I am guilty for bringing you the likes of Shrek 2. Sorry about that.
I was Shrek 1.
There you go. There you go.
Pictures.
So you handed over the baton of the green farty one. Yes, thank you so much. So I brought Shrek 2 to the world, and at the time it was the biggest release in history, which was madness. Oh my word, the things that I could make your hair curl. Oh,
the entertainment. Yeah, the entertainment.
Yeah, it's a bonkers world. But really interesting, because whilst you've got a marketing title, you're actually the general manager and you're running a P&L, and a huge P&L as well. I was like 500,000, no, yeah. 500 million, not 500,000, 500 million, which was just bonkers. I then left. It was not the most pleasant experience. I left and realized I was pregnant. So well done, Joanne, for fantastic timing there. So didn't get the maternity leave, but did get some opportunity to turn into a consultant, which is what I've been doing for a number of years now. And I've been lucky enough to be invited into some amazing clients and seen lots of different worlds. I've been working at universities, I've been working with the NHS, I've been working in more entertainment companies, in retail. So you name it, I think I've got the hat. The only thing I haven't got is financial services, which, yeah, that's a whole nother bag that I just don't have the desire to get to learn. And pharma, that's not my thing either, but I know a lot of people that have, so there you go. So yes, I was working with a company, and the reason that I've set up the Girls Club, so I was working with a company in a very senior role, actually, managing a revenues just shy of 600 million, so massive role.
Yeah.
A team of 250, global footprint, really, really on paper exciting. From a commercial perspective, I was knocking it out the park. We grew 11% year on year. We stopped staff attrition. I mean, previously it had been known as having like a revolving door. We got rid of all of that. We settled the team down. Everything was going really well. But from a personal perspective, I felt really flat. And hopefully, as you can see, I'm not one of those sorts of people that comes across as being quite flat. I'm quite rounded, but I'm actually quite positive. And I was wondering, what on earth is wrong with me? You know, why am I feeling unfulfilled? In principle, I should be waking up and confetti cannons should be going off, and you know, you've made it, the career role of the lifetime. Woo! And I didn't feel that way at all. As a woman, I did the usual thing of stuffing it down there and just ignoring it for a while. And I actually got invited to a round table, and I met some other amazing, well, some really amazing women. Total imposter syndrome. Walked into the room thinking, oh my God, what am I doing here? Started to talk to them, and they said, we feel the same way. And I was like, really? Really? What is it? And actually, it was then that the light bulb moment happened. And I realized that for women leaders, it can be incredibly isolating.
Yeah.
And that is personally what I felt. So, we'll talk about lessons learned and things like that. But one of the things I didn't realize is I was an island. Had this amazing career. I couldn't talk to the chief exec, who was my boss, because he was doing his thing. Couldn't talk to peers in a corporate environment because there's always politics. Whatever you say, there is always politics at play. And I couldn't talk to the team because they wanted direction from me. So I was like, oh, bugger, what the hell am I going to do? Who am I going to talk to? And so meeting these women at this round table on this one event was just such a revelation, and so, oh my God, life affirming. I thought I was losing it. And I realized that actually, no, I'm completely normal. And many, many, many women feel like that. Anyway, fast forward, COVID hits. I'm in the middle of the summer thinking, oh, I need a pick me up. And I reached out to these women and said, fancy a quick cheeky glass of wine on Zoom? Because that was the thing to do during COVID. And they were like, oh, yeah. And so I waited for someone to organize it because I didn't want to be one of those annoying women that just, oh, I'm all organized, because I'm not. But I thought, sod it, you're not getting on with it. I'm going to do it. So I set up a Zoom call, didn't know what to call it, thought, there's enough boys' clubs out there. I'm going to call it the Girls' Club. And that is how it all started. So there you go.
And how many members do you have now, Jo?
We now have 2,600 and something members globally, which is very exciting. Not all of them talk to me all of the time, thank goodness. But we are just, it's such a joy to be able to sort of, it obviously resonates. It's not just me and those other 5 women. And so I talk to them on a regular basis. We have master classes, but really it's just the whole thing about the Girls' Club in particular is, number one, it's a safe space for women leaders to be able to share things. You might get up and have a bit of a bad day coming. You can't take it to work, but you need to get it off your chest.
Yeah.
Girls' Club is a really good place for that because we don't judge. We're not interested in your labels or anything else like that. We get it because we're in it too. And
I remember a billion years ago when I was at Barclays, and I was one of literally a handful of senior exec women. And I wish I'd had the Girls' Club then, because there is nobody else to talk to. There was, like, for me, there was nobody else in that position. And then you end up, your values go out of the window. Well, no, they don't go out of the window, but your values are challenged. And you end up behaving like the boys' club. And it's really damaging, soul destroying, energy draining, all of those things. So I absolutely love what you've done, and completely.
Thank you. Well, we're really at the beginning of our journey. So this happened. So I guess that we first started getting on the Zoom call and having those cheeky glasses of wine in 2020. Here we are 4 years down the line, and we've just started to decide, well, I've taken the bold decision of doing something a bit more dramatic, which I'll tell you about at the end. There you go.
Okay.
It's a teaser. It's a step.
Okay. Should we talk about the best lesson you've ever learned as a leader then?
I think for me, the best lesson I've ever learned, and I previously, hands up, used to think it was a weakness, is actually to ask for help. I think for me, the best thing is to ask for help. It's not a weakness, it's actually a sign of strength. If you are confident in your skin and you are confident with your abilities, actually asking people for help when you don't know something is really, really strong. And I always, particularly in the beginning of my career, thought, oh, I should know this, I should know everything. I mean, why on earth do we think this? It's ridiculous. And I think that's one of the things that we do at the Girls' Club is we do these masterclasses, because it's like someone might have mentioned, oh, I don't know anything about generative AI, so we'll do something like that. Or I don't know about, I don't know, sex and the menopause. There's a juicy one. I didn't know anything about it either. I do know.
Not juicy.
Yeah. Well, it is after you've watched the masterclass. I tell you, there is juice is available. Apparently, who knew? Sorry.
Love this.
This
I
is going
love
to have
them.
to be an 18 rated podcast. Apologies on that.
I
I'll
know
try
I'm
not
getting a
to
bit flushed.
swear.
Is there
Uh,
actually a sex and the menopause and juices and the sex and the menopause masterclass?
yes, there is, and it's held
Haven't found
by
that one yet.
the woman that took it is amazing. Her name is Dr. Kara Sonnenberg. She is a expert. She's a GP, but she's also an expert in menopause, and her speciality, if you call it that, is about sex and the menopause. And she takes great lengths to explain all the things that I didn't even know about, and also how you can solve things. So there you go.
And there's something about finding, like you said, about a safe space. I work with a digital agency, and the founder, and he doesn't like being called the chief exec, but he is 21. And like the first time I had a meeting with him, I was like, what does he know? And then I'm like, actually, he knows all of this stuff that I've got no idea about. And it is I have a really good relationship with him. I feel safe. I don't feel talked down to. It's great. It's great.
Yeah.
Find somebody who knows more about shit than you do.
Absolutely. And the more you do it, the more I'm doing it, the more I'm realizing, I think, actually, what do I know anything about? I don't really know anything about anything apart, but I
Exactly.
do
Yeah.
know someone who can. And
Yeah.
that is, I mean, half the battle as a leader is knowing your skill set and also knowing and getting the right people on board to support you.
Yeah.
And it's really aspirational as an employee if you work with leaders like that,
Yeah.
because it takes the pressure off you knowing everything about everything, which is totally unrealistic.
I'm
But
bragging.
it also gives you the skills to realize, actually, yeah, no, look how well it works when you get the right people in. But do ask for help and do let them help, because it shouldn't all be on your shoulders, and that goes for home. And then at work, why is it all on your shoulders too? It's crazy.
Yeah. Tell me about the hardest lesson you've ever learned.
Mm. This is a tricky one. Okay, so the hardest lesson I've learned is that not everyone has the same, I guess, morals and ethical standards that I have.
Yeah.
um and my expectation is that I see people on face value. If you say you're going to do something, I expect that you will do it. And I'm constantly disappointed by people that I hope will do the things that they say they will do.
Yeah.
But also, I've had horrendous things happen. I've been, people have stolen money from my company that I trusted and thought that they were ethical and they wouldn't do something like that. And they have. Thankfully, it wasn't a lot of money, but the whole act of it was just like, oh, that's
Mm.
vile.
Mm.
And I think I like to think that most people are honest and good and do all the good things. I guess the thing is, you don't know the stress that they're under, and people do weird stuff when they're really stressed. And so, even though they may, in principle, have similar morals and ethics, if they're really stressed, they tend to do weird things. And I've got so many horror stories that unfortunately I've experienced so far in my career of people doing the most bizarre and horrendous things. um that it's kind of, I'd like to think it hasn't changed me. It has, because they've been pretty horrible,
Mm.
but I still think the good in people. But I think the best in people, but I take it with a slice of, just be careful and give them enough rope that they can either do it or they can not, and
So
don't be disappointed.
has this kind of become part of your everyday approach now?
I
This,
think my everyday
yeah,
approach is trusting people. I think if you don't trust people, then what sort of world are we living in? It's horrendous. But
yeah.
I do think, with age and experience comes a bit of, just be careful. Give them. I guess it's a case. It's a bit like, hopefully when you're managing people, you let them get on with the job. You don't micromanage them, but unless you trust them 100%, you keep an eye on them from afar just to make sure that they are going to do what they are going to do.
Mm.
But be aware that you might need to step in and either do it yourself or, get some additional help.
And that's a tricky balance, isn't it? Because you don't want to be that micromanager or that control freak, but equally you don't want to leave it too late that the shit's actually hit the fan.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
So it is that it's that intentional monitoring.
Yeah, and I don't think it's not every day. I mean, most people, most things, it doesn't matter whether it happens or not, it's fine. But I think when there are some really big things that happen that are promised, or there are, or maybe you've just started working with someone, you just give them the space to do what they will do. And but you have to keep an eye out just to make sure they're okay. Are they, we've all met people that, should we say, embellish their CV a little.
Yeah.
I'm rubbish at doing that. I'm too honest.
Yeah.
But you do meet those people, and I think it's particularly in business, it's really important. You've got to keep the wheels on the bus, and if they're new, you need to keep an eye on them to make sure that they are going to be able to deliver what they say they are going to do. And if they can't, then it's your job really to step in and support them. I don't think a lot of these things are intentional. They are just, there's either a skill set missing, or there's some weirdness that's going on that you just don't know about. I like to think people are good at the end of the day, but there's been some shockers that I've experienced as well.
So when those things happen, those shockers, how do you build yourself back up? How do you deal with those situations?
Oh gosh, it's tricky. It's really tricky without them impacting you for the rest of time when they're really big ones. I mean, I've experienced someone physically attack me during a redundancy process. They had me around the neck over the boardroom table, in front of HR, but then HR went on to deny all knowledge because, of course, they should have stepped in and done something, but they didn't. So therefore, they were on the back foot. So they didn't do it. So they then denied the knowledge. This person, I managed to get them off me in the end. It was a man. It wasn't a woman. It was an extraordinary situation. It's quite tough because it also, when people sort of deny that this happens, you second guess yourself sometimes. You're thinking, did I dream that? I'm not into being strangled. I don't tend to dream those things in a redundancy process. But yeah, it was extraordinary. And I've experienced others at the other end of the spectrum, which just make you die when you think about how could that person have done that. But yeah.
I once had a client, it was a 200 grand gig, and we got stiffed for 100 grand. So basically I was out of pocket. And it turned out that even though we'd been through the full due diligence and we'd had the contracts and the lawyers and all of that, the person who'd signed the contract didn't have the authority within the business to commit to the budget. And like we'd done everything right, but it still went wrong. And I mean, that was a really expensive, but it taught me to just almost like you say, just be a little bit more cautious. Even when you think somebody's got the sign off, then just loop back and check. It's not the same as being attacked over a desk.
Oh, that was just madness. I think the other one, and I won't share this particular details, but the other one, I had to pull someone up on I guess a disciplinary because of something completely outrageous that they had done. I wasn't a witness, but there were a number of witnesses to what they had done. And as a result, their response was to raise a grievance against me. And interestingly, I met another woman actually last week who was experiencing a very similar thing. She'd been incredibly above board. She'd been very professional. She was supporting this woman. It was a woman. It's interesting how women raise grievances against other women quite frequently, and it's a horrible thing to think about. But this particular woman had a grievance against her because she'd had the audacity to ask her what she was doing. She'd been in this particular role for 17 years, this person. This woman was new to the role and was just sort of just checking in, really. You know, she was there to manage her and was just asking her what she was doing. This woman had been totally unprofessional and unethical. She'd employed her daughter. She'd given her daughter a double pay rise. You know, it was just a nightmare. So this woman had said, I think we need to have a conversation. And immediately the woman in question raised a grievance against her. And actually, I sat down and had a coffee with this woman last week. She was in bits. You know, having someone raise a grievance against you is just horrendous. There is no, especially when you've got high morals and ethics, and you know damn well that you would never do anything that bad. She was in bits. Thankfully, I'd got through mine, and that was a few years ago, and came out the other side, and it was all fine. But at the time, it's just so stressful and so horrid, and it makes you question yourself, and it makes you question what you do, and it makes you're tied up in knots in your stomach. You can't sleep. It's just horrid. And actually, to be able to kind of counsel her through it, to say, look, you do get out of the other side, and you mustn't compromise your morals and ethics and professionalism because of this one scenario. And it's vile. It's not a nice experience for anyone. But I do think, you know, it's a hard lesson to take, but it is a hard lesson that not everyone is professional as you are.
Do you think, though, that it's not that easy to be your authentic, real self when you're a late 20s, early 30s, rising professional? Is it? I found it really hard.
Oh, it's horrible. And I think that's another, well, I hate being like an old record that goes back again. But that's why we set up the bloody girls club, because if you can't see it, if you can't see women being women and not men dressed up as women, because that's kind of how you think you should act. If you can't see women being their authentic selves in the boardroom, then you think you've got to be like a man, and that's rubbish.
Yeah.
You need to be yourself, and it's easy to say, it's impossible to do, particularly if you're in your early 30s.
Yeah.
But I think the best way to do that is to meet other women leaders and realize actually you've got lots of skills to bring to the table and we know, McKinsey's reported on it in the boardroom, having women and diversity in the boardroom, companies deliver 50% more revenue. Hello, why would you want to be another man? There's enough men there. We love them. They're brilliant. I really want to work with them. I really want them to embrace women in the boardroom because we're good for them and they're good for us. But having the younger generation see women in the boardroom, I think is just going to be awesome. But these women need to be themselves and feel that they can do the job themselves. I mean, we all know how horrible it is trying to act something that you're not. It's not sustainable long term. And we need people to be themselves and have that space. And I guess that's another thing the Girls Club's trying to do, is just raise awareness in business that it's okay to be yourself, because you've got other skills to bring to the table that are not already there.
That role modeling piece, I mean, if I think back, I don't think I had, when I moved from kind of senior management into the exec positions, I don't think I had anybody that I could look to say, she's smashing it, I want to be like her. It was such a boys' club.
Yeah, well, unfortunately, it's getting worse in the UK as well at the moment. So
I saw
McKinsey again, McKinsey's just said, it's just reported that for every one woman joining the board, two are leaving. And that is that I mean it beggars belief.
Sort it out.
It's bad for women. It's bad for the women coming through the business. It's bad for business, for Christ's sake. 50% more revenue, and you're letting these women walk out. What is going on? It's just bad. So let's stop it. And that's what we're trying to do, is support these women leaders, that if you're in the boardroom and you want to be there, but you've got all this other nonsense going on, let us help. Let us be that safe space. You can get it off your chest and we can at least help try and unpick it. We're not about giving you a cuddle. We will if we need to. We will definitely give you a glass of wine. But we will help, and we've got that experience. But it's also about working with men as well. And that's the other thing I'd say. We are not a man bashing. This is not about man bashing. Men in the boardroom at the moment, when women are arriving, are like terrified, not because they're scared of women, but it's almost gone the other way. It's like, oh, can I talk to you that way? Can I say these things to you? Can I open the door for you? It's like, oh, for God's sake, yes, of course you can. But men are getting to the stage now where they're not sure what they can and can't do.
And does the girls' club work with?
Yes,
I'm going to say the male community. That's
and well, we've actually got a speaker. We've got a couple of things coming up next month, actually, because it's International Men's Day next month.
Because you need one.
I thought that was 364 days of the year, not that one, but there you go. That's fine. No, it's International Men's Day next month. And we've actually got someone called Daniele Fianduca. Sorry, Daniele, if I've said your name wrong. He's coming in next month, and he's set up a consultancy called One Token Man. And he's all about supporting women in the boardroom, but working with men. And we are absolutely up for that. We're absolutely up for working with male allies.
Yeah.
To improve the situation for everyone, because that's what this is about. Equality.
Right.
It's not about making men's lives miserable and making women's brilliant. It's about equality. But you can't change the agenda for women if you don't change the agenda for men.
Yeah.
Okay.
So what next for our Jo?
World domination. No, not really. So we've got 2,600 women in the girls' club. In 5 years' time, we want 100,000. Bullish, but possible. So what we're trying to do at the moment is, I mentioned earlier that there is a lot of things that are going on. I've put my consultancy on hold. So I was like a management consultant, went in, tried to sort businesses out, really good at sorting others out, rubbish at doing my own, hasten to add. So I've put my consultancy on hold. My business partner, Kerry O'Callaghan, has done the same. And we are going to make this into a legitimate business. And we are going to make it a success, because it's really important for women leaders. And it's really important for business. And it's even more important for the economy as a whole. You need to get more women in the boardroom. And when they get in the boardroom, we need them to stay. We're not about quotas and ticking boxes. We're about changing the environment so that women want to stay in the boardroom. And we want to work with companies in a really positive way to celebrate the successes that they've done already, but also to work with the men and give them a safe space to say, am I all right? Can I say? Of course you can.
Yeah.
But there's just this level of fear now that everyone's got so politically correct. It's gone off the scale that now people are frightened to treat each other normally. And it should.
How can we help you, Jo? How can we help you with world domination and
I don't really want world domination. I just want to make it better.
Yeah.
How can you help me? Well, for those women leaders that are listening, please come and join us. Come and join the party. As I said, we do drink an old glass of wine, so please don't be upset about that. But we are also drink coffee. And we're happy to chat, and we're happy to help. Companies, if you're interested in learning more, please come and find us. We are still getting our website sorted out. Don't get me started on that one. We're far from perfect. But if you can find us on LinkedIn. So the LinkedIn, the Girls Club Network. Come and find us, talk to us, contact me anytime. I've got Calendly. I've found it. Hooray, at last. Book 30 minutes with me. Let's have a chat, see how we can help. And also bang the drum. You know, it's good to have women leaders in the boardroom. It really is. It's not because we want to take men's places. We've got other things to bring to the table, and we want to work with you and make your business a success. So let's do that. Ta-da!
I can't wait to see. I can't wait. It's
Oh,
been
and if you've got, by the way, if you've got a few quid, we're looking for investment as well. So yeah, just slip us a fiver, that'll be fine.
No, you don't actually want a fiver, do you? Do you want to talk
No.
about the investment round?
So we're looking for 200,000 actually, so slightly more than a fiver, but we are, and my accountant assures me that we will have SEIS approval. So for any UK taxpayers, you'll get 50% of your investment back from HMRC. There's a reason to do it straight away, sure.
Can't wait to see it, Jo. It's been an absolute pleasure. You are such a radiator, such a radiator. And I look forward to seeing the journey. We'll take care.
Thank you very much for letting me rabbit on today. And thanks for joining the Girls Club. And just, you know, as I said, anyone that wants to join, we embrace all women leaders. So just come on down and let's change the world together.
Thank you, Jo.
Pleasure.